Okay, today's lesson is also from the basic algebra unit. You should previously have watched writing expressions, which was lesson 1. This is lesson 2, order of operations, and should be a review of things that you have learned previously. Our first objective is to memorize the correct order of operations. So good old PEMDAS, which you should have had experience with in the past. Second objective is we're going to solve some order of operations problems with integers. And our third objective is we're going to solve some order of operations problems with exponents. Okay, objective 1 is memorizing the correct order of operations. Here's good old PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Helps us to remember the correct order of operations. The first letter P stands for parentheses or other grouping symbols. And by other grouping symbols, I mean you may see something such as this, which is just another way of writing parentheses. You may sometimes see brackets like this. Again, just another way of writing parentheses. Also, a fraction bar is considered to be a grouping symbol. So if you had something like 2 plus 5 over 3 plus 1, this fraction bar works as a grouping symbol. It tells us to do what's above it first and then what's below it next before we actually do the division. Okay, second is E, which stands for exponents. So we're going to do any exponents next. Then we're going to do multiplication from left to right, any division from left to right, and these multiplication and division really go together. We wouldn't go through and do all the multiplication and then all of the division. We would do these two together. And the same goes for addition and subtraction. We would do all of the addition and subtraction from left to right. Okay, objective 2 is to solve order of operations problems with integers. And we're going to start with integers just because it's a little bit easier to work with. You can have order of operations problems with fractions and decimals and all sorts of things. I want you to do this in a very specific way. I want you to make sure that if you're doing a problem out of your textbook that you first write the problem down. This is important so that you can see on your paper how you're getting from one part to the next, and you need to start with the original problem. You're going to do one step at a time, and you're going to funnel to the correct answer. So in our first example, the P stands for parentheses. So we're going to do what's in the parentheses first. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And it's okay to do both parentheses in the same step. I'm actually going to leave the parentheses in my answer just because parentheses also tells us to multiply. So we're going to need to multiply 3 by the sum of 5 plus 8. So we have 3. 5 plus 8 is 13. Minus 2 times 6 minus 2 is 4. Now I'm going to go through, I have no exponents, so now I'm going to go through and do multiplication and division from left to right. 3 times 13 is multiplication. I'm not going to do the subtraction yet. I'm going to do the 2 times 4. So 3 times 13 is 39 minus 2 times 4 is 8. And now I just have one final subtraction problem. 39 minus 8 is 31. So this is what I mean by funneling it down. Each step should get shorter than the step before it, so it makes a funnel with your single answer at the end. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. PEMDAS tells us we're going to do parentheses first, so the only thing I'm going to do in this step is 9 minus 8. I'm going to write everything else down exactly the way I see it here. 16 times 9 plus 1 divided by, and I could keep my parenthesis here or I could get rid of it because I do have this division sign. So 9 minus 8 is 1. I don't have any exponents, so now I'm going to do multiplication and division from left to right. I'm going to do multiplication and division. Let's see, 16 times 9, 9 times 1 is 90, 9 times 6 is 54, and 90 plus 54 is 144. So we have 144 plus 1 divided by 1 is 1. And then I have simple addition, 144 plus 1 is 145. And again, I have funneled down my problem until it became just a single number. Okay, here are a couple examples for you to try. So at this point, I would like you to pause the video, try these on your own, and then come back when I will quickly go over the solutions with you. Okay, I hope you tried these on your own before watching the solution. So first I'm going to do what's in parentheses. So I'm going to do this parenthesis, and this parenthesis. I have 9. I'm going to keep my parentheses because that's telling me to multiply, times 3 minus 4 plus 2 is 6. Now I'm going to multiply or divide from left to right. I just have one multiplication. So I'm going to do 27 minus 6, simple subtraction, funnels down to 21. Next example, parentheses first. I'm going to write everything else down exactly the way I see it. I have 8 divided by 2. I can get rid of the parentheses since I do have an operation sign telling me what to do. Times 6 plus 4 is 10. Now doing multiplication and division from left to right, I have 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 4 times 10 is 40. Okay, this is where it's important to do it from left to right. If you decided to do multiplication before you did division and follow that order, you would get a totally different answer. If you did 2 times 10, you would get 20. And 8 divided by 20 is not 40. If you divide 8 into 20 parts, you're going to get something quite a bit smaller than 8. So it's important when you do multiplication and division that you do both operations in order from left to right. Okay, these examples are a little more complicated. They're telling us to do parentheses from the inside out. So in these cases, we have more than one set of parentheses. We have this parenthesis, and then we also have another set of parentheses on the inside. Let's see if I can get a different color here. We have the 6 plus 1. So I am only going to do the inside parenthesis this time. So I'm still going to keep my parenthesis. I have 9 minus 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 5 minus 3. I'm just going to leave that as 5 minus 3. Okay, now I'm going to go through and do the rest of my parentheses. 9 minus 7 is 2, plus 5 minus 3 is 2, and 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, here's one for you to try. Pause the video, give it a try, and then check back with me to see if you got your answer correct. Okay, I hope you tried this on your own. This set of parentheses right here has a double set of parentheses, so I am going to do the inside parentheses first. I'm going to leave everything else. 2 minus 4 minus 2 is 2. Now I'm going to do each of these parentheses. 8 minus 3 is 5, plus 2 minus 2 is 0, and 5 plus 0 is 5. Other grouping symbols, I talked to you about this a little bit. Regardless of which type of grouping symbol you see, you always do the inside symbols first. So we have this bracket, and it pairs with this bracket over here. So let's go ahead and trace those in one color. So we have this bracket, which pairs with this bracket. And then we have this brace and this brace, and I'm not going to try to trace those braces. And then we also have the most inner set of parentheses. So we're going to start with that inner set of parentheses. I'm going to write everything else down exactly the way I see it. So I'm going to keep my parenthesis, 3 divided by, my brace. I can do that a lot better on pencil and paper than I can on my tablet. 2 minus, I was going to do this parenthesis, 6 minus 5 is 1. I'm going to close my that grouping symbol, and then I'm also going to write, let's see, I'm at plus 2, and I'm going to close that symbol, minus 1 times 5. Now my innermost parenthesis is the 2 minus 1. So I'm going to do 3 divided by 2 minus 1 is 1, plus 2 minus 1 times 5. Now I have one more parenthesis left to deal with, but inside the parenthesis I have two operations. I have division and I have addition. So remember that we do multiplication and division from left to right, so I'm just going to do the division this time. 3 divided by 1 is 3, plus 2, minus 1 times 5. Now, finally I have one thing left to do inside the parenthesis, and I can go ahead and take away the parentheses since I have an operation sign telling me what to do. So I have 5 minus 1 times 5. Now with what's left, I'm going to do my multiplication and division from left to right. So I have 5 minus 1 times 5 is 5. So the answer to this very complicated looking problem is merely 0. Okay, I also told you in the introduction about the fraction bar. A fraction bar means to divide. You're going to do the top and bottom separately before dividing. So I'm going to start. P stands for parentheses or other grouping symbols. So I'm going to start by doing the things above and below the fraction bar. And I could actually write a parenthesis around it if I want to. It's kind of there, but it's invisible. So the first thing I'm going to do is 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 5 is 10. So in my next step I have 10 divided by 2 minus 6 times 7. Now I'm going to do multiplication and division from left to right. So I'm going to go ahead and do this 10 divided by 2, and I'm also going to do 6 times 7 in the same step. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 6 times 7 is 42. Now we have a smaller number minus a larger number. I think of this in my head as 42 minus 5, which is 37. But since I'm subtracting a larger number from a smaller number, I know that my answer is negative. So the answer is negative 37. Our next example has some parentheses in addition to our fraction bar. So it's kind of like the rules for doing the innermost parentheses first. I'm going to do the 7 plus 1 before I do anything else. So I'm going to write the rest of it down exactly the way it's written. 3 plus 6 minus 7 plus 1 is 8 over 1 minus 3 minus 6. Now I'm going to do all of what's inside the fraction bar, and you can make parentheses if that makes you feel better. So 3 plus 6 minus 8 is a negative 2. 1 minus 3 is also negative 2 minus 6. Now I'm going to do multiplication and division from left to right. So I'm going to circle this just because the underline doesn't get confusing. I'm going to do this negative 2 divided by negative 2. So I have 3 plus anything divided by itself is 1. So I just have 1 minus 6. Now I'm just left with addition and subtraction. So I'm going to go from left to right. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Okay, here are some for you to try. Please pause the video and try these on your own before watching the solutions. Okay, I hope that you tried this on your own. I'm going to go through this quickly. First thing I'm going to do is what's on the bottom and top of the fraction bar. So I'm going to keep my 6. 1 minus 3 is negative 2, plus 8 is 6. And I'm going to write down the rest. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Minus, I can also do 6 divided by 3 in this step, which is 2, and 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Second example, on the top I just have 3 plus 9 is 12, but on the bottom I have to do the multiplication before I can do the subtraction, so I'm going to write this down as 6 minus 4, and then I have my plus 9. So I still have to do a little bit to the fraction bar. So my next step will be 12 over 6 minus 4 is 2, and then I have plus 9. 12 divided by 2 is 6, plus 9 is 15. Okay, objective 3 is to solve order of operations problems with exponents, and depending on which class you're in, we may not cover this in the same day as we covered the rest. So you'll need to probably check with me to find out how far you should go in the video. All right, exponents tell how many times to multiply a number by itself. So if we have 2 to the third power, this exponent 3 tells us that we're going to multiply 2 by itself 3 times. So we have 2 times 2 times 2. Over here we have 8 to the second power. It means we're going to multiply 8 2 times. If we had, let me give you one more example, if we had 1 to the sixth power, that would mean that we're going to multiply 1 by itself 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1 to any power, as you can see, is just going to end up being 1. Okay, so before we can do our exponent, we have to do parentheses. So in this example, I'm going to add 3 plus 2. I'm going to keep it inside parentheses. I really don't need to in this case, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. Minus 4 times 5. Okay, now I'm going to do the exponent. This means 5 times 5 times 5. Just write this up here if you need to see it. 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. So we have 125 minus 4 times 5. Now I'm going to do my multiplication and division. 125 minus 20, and that equals 105. Okay, let's look at the next example. The next example, we're supposed to do parentheses before exponents, but in this case the exponents are inside the parenthesis. So in order to do the parenthesis, we're going to have to do the exponents first. So I have 2 to the third power. That's 2 times 2 times 2, and 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is 16, minus 4 to the second power means 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay, my next parenthesis, I have 9 plus 4 to the second power is 4 times 4, which is 16. Now I'm going to do what's inside the parentheses. 16 minus 16 is 0, minus 16 plus 9 is 25, and 0 minus 25 is negative 25. Okay, here are some examples for you to try. So pause the video, try these on your own, and then come back and check your solutions. Okay, you should have tried these on your own. First example is one where the exponent is inside the parentheses. So in order to do the parenthesis, we're going to have to start by doing our exponent. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So we have 27 minus 6 plus 6 times 5. Now I'm going to do what's in parentheses. 27 minus 6 is 21, plus 6 times 5. Doing multiplication and division gives me 21 plus 30, which is 51. In the second example, the exponent is outside of the parentheses, so I'm going to do what's inside parentheses first, and I have to follow order of operations here as well. I have addition and multiplication. I'm going to need to do the multiplication first. So I have 9 plus 8, the quantity squared, minus 2 times 5. Now I'm going to do what's in the parenthesis. I have 9 plus 8 is 17 squared minus 2 times 5. 17 times 17 is 289 minus 2 times 5. Now I'm going to do my multiplication. So 289 minus 10 is 279. Okay, your assignment, and the assignment is the same for everyone in both groups this time. It's textbook, page 13, 9 through 24. That may be modified a little bit depending on your class, so you'll want to check on your class page or check with your classmates to see exactly what homework was given in class. Okay, thank you for watching.